Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about PMDD, not PMS, PMDD. And we're going to be talking with somebody who has literally lived this. So we're going to be talking with Monica Grohne, who is a hormone health coach, certified personal trainer, and she's the founder and CEO of Marea. And I got in touch with Monica honestly a couple years ago because she just put out such wonderful information on PMDD. And after 17 years of struggling with severe period symptoms and PMDD, she found relief through nutrition and lifestyle. So, of course, that became her mission. She became dedicated to helping women overcome PMS and PMDD with simple, effective habits, quality nutrition. She was diagnosed with PMDD in 2016 after years of misdiagnosis. She earned her certification in women's hormone health coaching and launched Marea in 2020. So many big things came out of 2020, you guys. It is her mission to empower women to live free from period symptoms through nutrition and lifestyle support. So you're going to be hearing about why she created Marea, what's in Marea, what helped her get relief from PMDD, and some really big things that we see pattern wise across when dealing with PMDD. So it's full of gold, full of gold. You guys already heard her intro, so I won't give you all that again, but I think this is going to be awesome to hear from somebody who has had PMDD. And I don't know if you say you still have PMDD or not, but I will let you dive into that. But I think it's useful to hear someone who's gone through this journey and actually has actionable things that you can take to help. So I will let you take it from here. I would love to just kind of start with your story and then we can dive more.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that I am someone who still has PMDD. I think because PMDD is that like sensitivity to hormone fluctuations, whether they're out of balance, in balance.
Yeah.
I am a highly sensitive person, whether that be emotionally, within the hormonal space or outside of the hormonal space. And the amazing part is, for anyone listening out there who also experiences PMDD, there are ways to manage those symptoms.
Yeah.
So you're not just like a victim of this diagnosis. It doesn't have to become you. And you can use it kind of as a superpower in so many ways. And I say that without there being like toxic positivity around it too.
Mm-hmm.
I just truly have experienced the worst of it, all the way from self-harming and suicidal ideation to now being in a place where I still have some months that like aren't as great as others, but it allows me a reflection point. So yeah, a little bit about my story. I got my first period at 9 years old. So I was a very early bloomer.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I was 11, I was experiencing very heavy periods and some hormonal acne, kind of the traditional, teen symptoms, I think that a lot of people experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on an orthotricycline low, a birth control at 11 years old.
That is so young. So young.
And I have a lot of curiosities around that from, about what I experience now hormonally and if that plays a role, which I'll probably never know, and I can create my own assumptions around that. But as I grew and as my cycles became normal, maybe, but they were always medicated with birth control, so it's really hard to know. The mood side of things really flared up for me, and I felt out of control. I felt manic, very just out of my body. To the point where, like, by the time I was 25, I was really like, something's up, like something is wrong with me. And I didn't correlate it to my cycles yet because I'd been on birth control for so long. I was still on birth control at that point. I wasn't cycling normally. So I didn't have that indicator of a bleed to be able to correlate the symptoms to. So it felt out of the blue.
Okay.
And I thought I was bipolar. And I think that is a very common experience for those who do experience PMDD, is that you're like, is this a personality disorder? Am I just severely depressed and it just like flares up randomly? And until I was able to have the experience of a therapist actually at the time suggesting some cycle tracking, and I was like, all right, I got to get off birth control so that I can understand and see cyclically what's going on. that it was very obvious that I'm like a cycle day 19-ish, 20, 19, 18. Like that's really when I flare. It's not like as bad right before my period, and it's not that bad around ovulation, but it's kind of smack dab in the middle of my luteal phase. And
which is interesting because that's when progesterone should be at its highest almost.
Yeah. And I'm actually learning this now as I'm in a period of, leaning towards trying to conceive and really dig into those estrogen, progesterone levels. I have very low progesterone. I've always been an athlete, so I suspect that there's an aspect of some energy deficiency happening, as well as I have really high cholesterol, and I'm learning the correlation between kind of hormone conversion, because you're needing cholesterol to do that. And my cholesterol is not properly converting either. So I'm working on this with a dietitian right now. And like to be continued on that journey. But I think that for me, I'm out of balance right there where the progesterone's not coming up.
Yeah, that's because that is where it should be its highest. And your brain's like, nope, not enough progesterone, therefore not enough GABA, not enough all the other things. So, okay, you are like the millionth person that has told me that their therapist was like, maybe you have PMDD, which like kudos to all these therapists for like putting that out there and like telling them like, maybe this is something you should look into. So how did you go about getting your diagnosis?
It was with her. And I think that that's an interesting thing for us to touch on even, is that the diagnostic criteria, people in this PMDD space are kind of like stuck in the middle between gynecology and mental health. So the criteria has kind of gone back and forth between a women's health thing and a psychological thing. So I think I was just lucky that this therapist kind of put it in her realm of expertise in diagnostics. And she knew that it required cycle tracking to diagnose. Diagnostic criteria for PMDD is literally a list of symptoms, which is also very challenging because there is the potential that I got this diagnosis without there actually being any exclusions, right? Because functional medicine or even like traditional medicine really should look into like, oh, this could be a thyroid issue. This could be a nutrient deficiency issue. This could be so many other things, and exclude those as the potential root of what's happening. Whereas with, there's no test. There's no test that can be done, but those tests should be getting done to help with the exclusion process of it potentially being something else. I think now that I'm down the line and I've done a lot of the testing, like I can very clearly, say like, yeah, I truly do believe it is PMDD, but there's a lot of gray area in diagnostics of this because it's not just a lab test. And even when people are getting testing done, especially if they're just going to their OBGYN, those doctors are still using the lab ranges of quote unquote like normal, and it's like a diseased lab range basically. So, you're getting the thyroid testing done, you're getting the nutrition testing done, and maybe it looks normal, but it's not functionally optimal. So that could still be the root of the problem. So I think that that's a really interesting and kind of controversial thing in the PMDD space, is the diagnostic process should be a little bit more in depth, but it does require quite a bit in terms of resources, in terms of testing, time. It's not just like a blood test where you're going to be like, oh yeah, like you have endo or you have PCOS or whatever. It is more a lengthy kind of exclusion process. So for me, it was tracking my symptoms. I did it over a 3-month period, and I very much had at least consistently like 5 of the symptoms on the list, which is kind of the diagnosis criteria for this disorder. And, my therapist was okay saying like, this is what it seems to be, and let's kind of act on that. And I do think that when we're talking about it in this way, and people listening might be like, oh no, like maybe I was wrongly diagnosed. I don't think that the protocol or the kind of healing direction necessarily changes, whether it's thyroid, nutritional deficiencies, or PMDD. A lot of it really is foundational. So I don't think I'd get too wrapped up in it. And maybe just like start to key into some of those lifestyle things.
Yeah. So what'd you start doing?
The therapist I was working with, she was like, I'd go to your doctor and let her know what's going on and potentially look into cycling SSRIs. And it was the suggestion was cycling SSRIs. So only taking them in the luteal phase. And I don't know how this happened for me, because I was the least body aware person. I was definitely the person who, like, a doctor just told me what to do and I did it. I wasn't questioning or asking myself, like, does this feel like the right option for me? But something in my body at that time told me, like, I'm unsure about this direction. And so I was like, I don't want another birth control or to cycle SSRIs before I try other things. I found a nurse practitioner, and she actually gave me like a physical scroll. I will literally call it a scroll because it was a very long sheet of paper with a list of supplements. And she had patients have a very good experience with repleting nutrient deficiencies that she was seeing as common amongst this group of women. And I was like, that seems approachable. That seems like something I can get behind. I've been an athlete my whole life. And for me, like, taking care of my body has always been a high priority. So to be able to just say, like, oh, I'm just going to use supplements, it seems like a good path to start. And within 3 months, it was completely game changing. Like, I had a symptom-free cycle. I felt very much in control. I didn't have that kind of manic, anxious experience where, for me, a huge symptom is starting to question everything, thinking like, you can't do this. Like I just go down these rabbit holes deep into this place of like, not truth. And the story gets quite elaborate. So, to be able to have that experience and like get my period and have had a symptom-free cycle, I was like, whoa, like this is really, really working. So nutrition for me was a big one. And I think a lot of women experience an inability to kind of absorb nutrients through food or get the right nutrients for food. And I would say I'm someone who does have a pretty clean, healthy lifestyle. I eat whole foods, a variety of plants, pretty high protein, like all of those things. And it's just like, I just don't absorb nutrients. Great. So to be able to have that supplementation and get a little bit more from it was really, really what I was needing.
So I've noticed with a lot of PMDD clients, they're very sensitive to supplementation. I don't know if they're just like highly sensitive across the board. Did you notice that with yourself or not really?
Not really. Do you see it mostly like across the B vitamins where like it does create jitters or what?
Yeah, they're just like, I think part of it is that what you said, it's easy to go down rabbit holes. And I think that's partly with supplements is you start getting very sensitive to everything. And so even if it's like a positive change you start to notice, you're like, oh my gosh, is this going in the right direction or is this going in the bad direction?
I didn't experience that, but I can definitely say from our community and our customers at Marea, we do see a lot of people who have, I mean, a lot. I think we see it at like 7% of our customers are having like a reaction to the B vitamins where like it's a higher dosage, it's therapeutic grade dosage. So and some people are sensitive to B vitamins where it does make them a little bit like higher energy, maybe a little jitter, or on like the magnesium side, which we use a magnesium glycinate, but some people still experience some digestive upset or looser
Loose
stools.
Yeah.
Which could also be the high dose of vitamin C. So
Mhm.
there's like, some, we see that some, but I think in general, I would guess that there's a percentage of the population, and I don't know what that is, that does just have a sensitivity to that kind of dosage of nutrients. So for us, we're always just kind of recommending, and we have seen people have improved experiences with starting with a quarter dose or a half dose. And the great thing about like our product being in a powder is you truly can like just adjust the dosage within the scoop. I guess you could, reduce a pill to 1 pill versus 2 or whatever.
Unless it's 1 pill, then you're screwed.
Yeah. So we'll have people ease in, and that's kind of how we direct everyone, right? Is like start with a quarter scoop, maybe twice a day, and really ease into that full dose, because it can be hard on the gut, especially if your root issue is kind of a gut issue. It can be hard.
Yeah. I think that in my experience, I've not had PMDD. I have had like mood swings and PMS, but I don't think that is anywhere close to PMDD with what I've seen with clients, where it's like you said, I think they truly think that they're bipolar sometimes. And it gets so extreme, and then you have your period and you're just like, oh, never mind. Like I can do this. And so it's hard because all of the things that you need to do to kind of support it feel so impossible to do.
Definitely.
Like in your luteal phase. So it's kind of like a catch-22 in some ends. So explain to me why you created your product then, because that's simple. You just dump it in some water.
Yeah. So Marea was solving my own problem. Like I said, my experience with initially feeling a less symptomatic PMDD luteal phase was nutritional, foundational nutrition through supplementation. But I was taking like a 12 pill regimen, which isn't sustainable. And it's definitely not sustainable if you're symptomatic. Like you're saying, it's hard to maintain those things that are good for you when you're feeling like the world is ending, when you're feeling like you can't get out of bed. How am I supposed to like section out and pour like 12 different pills? Because I was having to get the B complex separate so that I was making sure I was getting the high enough dosage, and then the magnesium separate, and like it was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I was like, if foundational nutrition can help all women who experience menstrual symptoms in general, why isn't there a product that just like puts it together for us? There's Athletic Greens out there, right? Like that is this foundational nutrition thing that was, it's for everyone, but I would like to think that it's probably more targeted towards a male. Why can't there be something for women that's more convenient? And I really wanted to educate women on the whole process. For me, my background is e-commerce, and through a product felt like my route to do that. So we created the PMS elixir, which is foundational micronutrients with 15 essential nutrients in there, 1 scoop a day mixed with water, which is a much better experience. And I would like to think that the first step for someone who is experiencing PMDD really is bringing awareness to their own cycle every day. Symptom mapping so that you can see your symptomatic triggers, and really understand what those symptoms are on a monthly basis. And from there, you're going to be able to learn a lot more. So that ritual of taking Marea or your supplements once a day, that can be a moment of check-in. Okay, I'm cycle day 5 today. How am I feeling? Great. I'm just going to take note of this real quick while I drink this. So we try to make that connection of like building a positive habit, but also allowing it to be a daily check-in with yourself. And, before we started recording, we were just talking about how this group of people can very much play a victim role. And I say this with so much kindness and experience of being a victim of it myself, is like, we got to get out of that state of mind. as a highly sensitive person, as someone who can experience these massive mood shifts, we can't be victim to them. And the first step is knowing what your pattern is, what days you experience your symptoms most commonly. And then you're almost able to prepare for it. You can brace for it. You can ask for the space you need. You can create boundaries around it. And I think for me, that was a huge like step in being able to have some like onus over this, right? Like it wasn't me. It was something that was part of my experience, but I could now prepare for it. So I had ownership over it as opposed to it just owning me. And learning how to communicate with it, learning, or not even with it, but like learning how to communicate around it. So we all have people in our lives and we can't just rage at them and be like, well, I have PMDD. So like, you just have, this is, if you don't accept this, like you don't love me. It's like, okay, no, we can ask them, hey, I'm feeling like I'm going to have a couple hard days. Like I just need a little bit of space here, or here's what I need for you. Or if I'm being quiet, it's not you, it's me. But I think that like creating structure, a little bit of structure, some boundaries, and being able to communicate our own experience with someone else allows us a level of ownership over our experience, as opposed to just being like, this is just me, like take it or leave it.
Yeah. We've even had some clients where like they know like when it's going to start in their cycle, and they just like have like a note on their mirror, on their computer, like everywhere, that when they reach that cycle day, you know, it's easy to like go down those rabbit holes and even become like super like in-depth worried about certain things. And they put on their sticky note, like, once I hit this cycle day, this is not real, this is fact. And they will like put their facts that they want to remember, because they're like, I can't let myself go down the spiral. So I have to stop it and be like, this is the cycle day. This is not real. This is my truth. Because it's easy to, it's real. Like in that moment, it's real. You have to like follow the path and like go down all of the optional scenarios. And it's rough. When you were talking about the therapeutic dosage, that's where I want to reiterate for the audience that this is very different than a multivitamin. I have like a personal like issue with multivitamins.
Tell me, I want to hear what it is.
It's just like, there's no, for example, like you have a multivitamin, right? And people are like, oh, I'm getting all of the things that I need. And I'm over here like, no, you're actually getting too much of like XYZ, because you're getting that from, you know, a different supplement, and you're getting nowhere near the dosage that you need of the things that actually matter. Like people will, for example, take magnesium and they're like, I'm not noticing a difference taking magnesium. I'm like, yeah, because you're taking 100 milligrams. You need to be taking like 3-4 times your body weight in milligrams. You know, and that's, or they start taking vitamin C and it's like, you're taking 100 milligrams. Like you need to be taking more like 1 or 2 grams, depending on what you have going on. And that's where I think testing can be really useful, because you can see where you need to support it. But I think that a lot of times we take these generic multis and we're like, well, it's not helping, or you think it's doing what you want it to do, and it's full of heavy metals because it's not been tested correctly, or it's full of fillers and it doesn't have the dosages that you actually need. And then I feel like you're just wasting your money, you know? And it's like, if you're going to spend money on supplements, like let's make it worth its money, basically.
And that's, I love that you say that, because we get the question all of the time of like, well, isn't this just a multivitamin? Why wouldn't I just keep taking my multivitamin? And while you may see the same nutrients on the panel, right? You'll see the vitamin D, the magnesium, the zinc, the selenium. You'll see the things that are you're probably going to see in a woman's multivitamin. What you're not, I think the general consumer is not aware of, is the forms of each nutrient are important. So like our B6 is a P5P, so you don't have to convert it to utilize it, which a lot of women have hard time with conversion. And so then whatever supplement you are buying that's in a different form, you're not converting it and you're not getting to the use of it. So waste of money. Methylation with B vitamins is a huge one. A lot of women have the gene mutation where you can't convert. Huge issue. Magnesium, we use a glycinate, which is or glycinate. I never know how to say it.
I think there's so many ways to say it.
But yeah, tomato, which is the great one for mood and like calm, staying chill. I love our product that these nutrients are also in that therapeutic grade dosage. So you're getting enough where you're going to actually notice a difference. And I think that's why, we do have over 900 reviews of women saying like, this has changed my life. And it's like, yeah, you are depleted, which most of us are.
Yeah.
And you needed these nutrients for so many different conversions and like to build up your hormones, to like detox your hormones, for serotonin uptake. Like there's so many processes in the body that are, the foundation of them is having these nutrients. So when people are actually getting them at a dosage that's therapeutic, they can notice the difference. Whereas if you just buy the multi or you get the gummy vitamin or whatever, they have the nutrient in there so they can claim the benefit of that nutrient, but it's not necessarily at a level or in the right form where you're going to get the benefit from it. So in term, like we're actually giving you something that you're going to feel. And that's also reflected in the price, because obviously there's more nutrients in there in higher quality forms. It's going to cost more. So the biggest complaint we get is, why is it so expensive? I can go buy a multi for, $25 at Target. And I'm like, go ahead, go buy it. Like if that's what you want to spend your money on, cool. But you're just throwing $25 away as opposed to, paying $50 and actually getting something that's going to work for you.
Yeah. I think price is such an interesting topic with people, because a lot of times we'll say like, well, I can get this cheaper, or I can just like find XYZ here. And I'm like, well, that is what you've been doing and it's not working. So
yeah,
time to make a change.
And I'm not saying that like our product is the magic bullet. That's, I think, my biggest or my hardest challenge with owning a product business in this space is I never want to come off as saying, we're going to cure you, we're going to fix you with this supplement. It takes more than that. This is one piece of the pie that we saw could be improved upon. And then we also try very, very hard to make sure we're educating on the other things, because it's not just nutrient deficiency, and there's more to nutrient deficiency than just supplementing. We have to look at your food that you're eating. We have to look at how you're sleeping. If your blood sugar is dysregulated, are you over exercising or under exercising? And also your mental state, like, are you overcommitting and lacking boundaries? How's your stress regulation? Like all of this plays such a role. So yes, we have a product, and I would like to think it's a very amazing product, but it's not a magic bullet. And I will be the first one to say that to people. It can take you from 0 to 1 and give you a little bit more space to maybe implement some of the other things. And for a lot of people, we definitely get the reviews that say this is life-changing, this is amazing, but there's more to it.
Yeah. Well, so I have an interesting thought about supplements, and I would love to hear what you think about this, but I feel like supplements give a lot of women a sense of control. And so getting a supplement and knowing that it can help with XYZ situation gives you enough of an oomph sometimes to like make a difference in other areas. It's kind of like, ooh, this is exciting. I want all of the supplement to do its job. So I'm going to do all these things. And then you do notice this life-changing thing. And the supplement is just one portion of it, but it was the portion that like gave you that sense of control to be able to kind of like take back. But then I also think on the flip side that it can make people very supplement happy of like, I just need another supplement. I just need another supplement. And it's like, I do think supplements are so useful and so important. And I do think that they can kind of give you that support to be able to do the other things that are necessary, as long as you aren't over supplement or like trying to out supplement your life. Basically, it's like, I'm not going to actually go to a therapist. I'm not actually going to regulate my nervous system. I'm just going to try and take so much ashwagandha. I don't have to do that. You know, like it can be tricky.
Yeah, we're, as a society, we've learned, and I think pharmaceutical maybe has taught us, that we just want the fix, and usually it's in the form of a pill. And that makes sense because our experience is you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you something to fix it, which most often is a Band-Aid, because they're not doing root cause medicine. So we look at supplements as that too, and it makes sense. And I think for us as a brand, that's why we're still primarily a one product brand, because it's hard to even think about like what else to add to the product line, because we're like, this is the foundation, and like really anyone could take this and like it would be beneficial for them. We're repleting things that like environmental toxins are, you know, depleting us of. My partner takes it with me, and like, yes, it was a supplement created for women, but there's good nutrients in there for men too. So it's an interesting thing, and I think that's why we definitely have the rhetoric often of like, this is one piece of your puzzle and this may be a great place to start, because it does give you that hope that I'm feeling better and now I'm motivated to implement the other lifestyle things. And that's kind of why like I really think about a PMDD healing protocol or journey as like step one, awareness. It's like the symptom mapping. What is my experience with this disorder? And then from that, we can like look at triggers. And those triggers are the things like the nutritional deficiency, or the sleep hygiene that's bad, or the blood sugar dysregulation. So those are kind of like the root actual problems that are triggering the experience for you.
Yeah.
So as people get educated with those things, and I kind of like nutritional deficiency is kind of the one that I like to tackle first, because it is quote unquote like the easiest, because you can supplement it. So people get that experience that you're talking about of like, okay, I'm doing something to help myself and I'm feeling a little bit better. And then they're like, what's next? And then it's like looking at the tools. So like, what are my tools to quote unquote, not fix, but support my triggers. So like having that kind of 3-step, like awareness, triggers, tools can kind of help people understand the layers to it. And at the foundation of it is awareness, and then is the foundational things that can be supportive.
Yeah. Like you have to give yourself a fighting chance with like replenishing your nutrients and all of that. I often, so something that I think is so tricky when you have PMDD is that you're like, you have this awareness that you need to do nervous system regulation. And you're like, yeah, I need to do that. And I'm aware of it. And like, I have all these tools, like I have all these things I can do, but you're feeling fine prior to luteal phase. So you're like, I don't have to do it, right? I'm feeling good. I save those tools for when I'm not feeling good. But then the thing happens is that you get to that phase and you're not feeling good. And what's the last thing you're going to do? Use the nervous system and use your tools. And I'm like, that's why we need to use them and flex that muscle, build that muscle, like build that foundation before you get there. Like I think about it as running a marathon. Like you need to actually warm up and practice before like trying to run your marathon, so you don't like pull a muscle or tear a muscle.
I think it's interesting because a lot of people, they'll hear like stress management, right? And so they're immediately like, managing stress means that I'm going to journal and meditate and regulate my nervous system and at the end of the day, it's also like we have to build stress resiliency.
Yeah.
And that comes in the form of kind of the other things, the blood sugar regulation. If your blood sugar is dysregulated, it doesn't matter if you're having external stress, you have internal stress. So if we have to do those things first and manage the internal stress so that we can be resilient to life stressors, emotional stress. So it's like, of course, if my blood sugar is regulated, I'm good. I've like been satiated. I've eaten meals throughout the day. All of those things are in line. And then, I get an awful email. I'm going to be more resilient to managing that in that situation. Whereas if I am starving and I'm hangry and then I get the email, I'm going to have a mentee bee. Like I'm going to completely break down. So we have to do the internal stress management to build resilience to that other stress. And that in turn is going to support our nervous system. And I think a lot of people are separating the two and not realizing like, oh, I need to do, in order to manage life stress, like I have to meditate. And those tools are great. Like, don't get me wrong, those can build resiliency too. And I think our brains need that space in our current world. But so much of it comes back to the foundational things to manage our internal stress.
Yeah. I kind of think about it like a toddler, because like toddlers, I feel like you can say like they're having a good day or a bad day. Like my second kiddo is 2.5-ish. And I constantly, like when he is just blazing fire, I have to, because he can go from 0 to 100. And I have to do my check-in of like, is it possible his blood sugar is imbalanced? Is he tired? Does he need water? Does he have to pee? Does he just need a hug? And like, I go through all of those things, and typically one of them needs to be met. And when those things are met, then I feel like we can come down from the blazes so much faster. We can, when his shoe falls off and he didn't want his shoe to fall off, it's like, Mom, my shoe fell off, versus like, my shoe fell off and the world is ending. And that's kind of how I think about it, where it's like, I have to prep him, like prep his day, like meet all of these things so that like his shoe falling off doesn't end the world. And it can seem so trivial, like, oh, your shoe falling off shouldn't end the world. But like, that's kind of how like a bad email or someone annoying us or something, it's how we respond if like our needs, like our bucket list hasn't been met. And for me, when I can see it like in that similarity, I'm like, oh, okay. It actually is important for me to do those things.
Oh, and I think that like you saying that right about your child of like, oh, this makes sense. Like he's thirsty, like hungry. We can say the same thing to ourselves and give like, it's almost like speaking to that part of us. If anyone's familiar with parts work and therapy, we can just like tell that part of us like, oh, this makes sense that you're feeling this way because you're hungry. And now I'm going to go feed you. And I think for me, when I learned to tell myself, it makes sense you're feeling this way, like self-validation, it was validating for me. That's like a tool for me when I am experiencing symptomatic PMDD. It makes sense you're feeling this way. You're sensitive to hormonal change. And last month you drank, and you usually don't drink alcohol. Okay. Like that makes sense. It makes sense you're having a flare up, or you were traveling a lot and you didn't eat as well as you normally do. It makes sense. Like, and then we can kind of, instead of shaming ourselves and being like, what's wrong with me? I'm broken, blah, blah, blah. It's like, my body's just giving me a little message, nudging me in a different direction. And you don't have to spiral on it. We can just be like, what am I going to do different? Okay, great.
Like approach it from curiosity instead of like shame.
Yeah. It's like one of my biggest values is just being curious and not being reactive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think understanding why, honestly, is like, and that's where awareness, you said, was the first step. Because um when I, like I feel like so many people start their day and they're like, I'm going to eat this and such food and I'm going to feel great. And then 3 p.m. hits or like 9 p.m. hits and they're just like, I need ice cream.
Yeah.
I want chocolate. And like, if you can take a step and go, oh, it's because I actually didn't balance my blood sugar in the meal before. And now I'm like hypoglycemic and my body needs that sugar in order to raise it back up. And that's why I need chocolate right now. Like, when I can tell myself that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll eat the protein. Like, and then I'll reassess how I feel about my life. Makes me so much more like willing,
Yeah.
to eat that food because I understand that this is like a natural response to what's going on in my body. And it's not that I don't have willpower.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important for us to have that experience, that awareness, and then like not shame ourselves for it.
Mm-hmm.
Curious, just be curious and build that awareness.
Yeah.
I think it's true like in all areas of life, right? Whether it's business, whether it's health, whether it's relationship, curiosity. And again, that's like why it's one of my biggest values is I've just learned when I'm not curious, I'm usually reactive.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'd rather stay in a curious state than in a reactive state. It's like the worst thing ever, you like go to your partner and you tell them something you're needing and they just react to you.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, oh, like tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
Like what feels better? And you can have that same experience with yourself. You can ask yourself, like I'm going to listen a little bit more on this one. I'm going to like try to see like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like exactly what you're saying. Why am I wanting ice cream? Like, let's be curious about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, the meal I just ate was like a full carbo load and like, I didn't get any protein. I'm not fully satiated. Great. Now I have an understanding. Now I can move forward and make a decision.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's so empowering when you start to ask that question instead of just constantly getting mad at yourself and just jumping down what you think it is. I think sometimes like we approach situations with a bias already of like, this isn't going to work for me or this is the issue instead of just being like, tell me more. Like, why is this? Like, what can I learn from this? Which is,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's easy, I'll preface that,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard.
No, it's not. It's a learned skill too. Like I'm almost 36 years old and I'm like, it's just becoming like habitual for me to be able to ask those questions and get out of the kind of state of like complete manic disarray. So I think the more we learn about ourselves and the more we do work on ourselves, the easier it is to kind of manage a disorder like PMDD as well. Because at the end of the day, like those are your tools, is the self-regulation and is the curiosity and the self-talk and learning to be a different person in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to let go of the old you. You're like, but I want to socially drink and I want to stay up late and I want to do all of these things. And it's like, well, I mean, you can if you want to keep feeling
Yeah,
this way.
I think that's interesting though, because I would ask those people who want those things about like, does it really make you feel good? Or is that just you kind of like drowning out your like spiraling thoughts and like self-sabotaging almost to make your experience stay the same, which your body is maybe thinking like, oh, this is keeping me safe because this is what I know, whatever.
Right.
But like, if you really asked like, and I think that that's been my experience even with alcohol of if I'm in a place where I'm like asking, maybe I do want a glass of wine. I'll be like, is this glass of wine worth tomorrow and next month being like not very fun for me? And usually the answer is like no. And I'll be like, okay, like I'm just not going to have it then. But I don't think that people are asking that question or being curious about it or taking that step to, really ask like, why do I want this right now in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little self-sabotagey when we start to think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to watch like 4 more episodes of this Netflix show, which like, I'm not perfect. Like I have the drink sometimes, which whatever, have the drink. Or I like will totally binge a show, but I know in that moment I'm making that decision. I know I'm making tomorrow harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So oftentimes I'll be like, never mind. I don't want to do this right now. Future me does not want this.
Yeah. I feel like we kind of like changed from nutrients to this, but I think it's such an important, because like sometimes like the changes that we need to make are free, but like they are the hardest changes. I think with our program and our accountability coaches, and like when we have our coach call and we'll go through like some of the hardest things that they're working on with people are like no screens before bed. Like they have super tender breasts and PMS, but they drink like 7 times a week, and it's letting go of these habits. They're like, I want this, but like we don't want to make the free changes, you know, because they are the hardest. They're the hardest. I think taking supplements is probably the easiest for most people.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And the free changes are the hardest because we don't have any investment in them. You know, it's the same thing. It's like give someone a free program with everything in it that they need to feel better, and they won't watch the modules, make them pay for it.
Yeah.
And then there's like this conscious like guilt, maybe like, oh, I paid for this, I should do it. It's like you got to invest sometimes a little bit to make that change. And I mean, hopefully like through like supplements, like maybe because people are buying them, they're actually going to take them. But there are so many free things. And that's kind of where I go when people are like complaining about the price. You're like, well, we're also telling you all the free things you can do, so you just choose.
Yeah. Investment is so huge, because like if you don't put skin in the game, you don't show up.
You're not going to show up.
Yeah. And that's why my one-on-one clients, which is like a very high ticket premium access, I mean, they're also getting results. A lot more up there, but they see such massive results because they put skin in the game that they're like, I'm going to be here, Leah. I'm going to do all of the work.
I mean, we even see it where if someone purchases, like we offer a 3-month bundle of the supplement because we're really like, give yourself 90 days.
Yeah.
Those people see better results.
Mm-hmm.
They paid more.
Yeah. And they also like stuck through that 90-day egg cycle. So
yeah. And I think that that's an interesting thing too. It's like the people who aren't willing to make the commitment or who are playing victim, aren't willing to make the investment. Like I've had to learn and be okay as a founder and a business owner that like, they're just not ready yet. And some people aren't ready to heal yet. They're not ready to let go that this is happening to them and it's part of them. And I know that's hard to hear. I've been there, you know, I've been in a place where I'm like, I just want to feel bad for myself. And that's okay. Like, that's okay too. But until you're ready to admit that there's more for you and that you don't have to live this way, like you're not ready.
Yeah. I want to give a very odd example for this, because what I think is so interesting to me is like people are so ready to buy like the trendy thing that is going to fix their issue. Like people are like, I want to buy this weight loss program that like has these shakes and blah, 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 blah. Or like, I'm going to go full carnivore, Leah. I'm going to go full keto. And I'm like, okay, have you ever balanced your blood sugar? Like, are you doing that? Because they're like, I've tried everything. It's not working. I'm like, well, are you doing your basics? Like, are you doing that? And they're like, well, no, I'm just going to go carnivore because it's like easier to think about it. And in those instances, it's like the basic, the foundational, they're not sexy and they're
It's
not
not sexy.
trendy. And it doesn't have that like internal like excitement, like I'm starting something new and this is gonna, make a big difference. And so those trendy and the sexy things are much more like, oh, that influencer like talked about how this changed her life, so I'm gonna do this. And that's not what moves the needle,
Yeah.
And I'll often have people that see these massive differences in their hormones and their mood. And then, 2-3 years, like they'll come back, which is kind of crazy that I've been doing that this long. They'll come back and they'll be like, I need to run these labs to see what's going on because I have blah, 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 blah symptoms. And I'm like, okay, give me a rundown. What have you been doing? Like, how are your foundations? And they're like, I mean, I mostly do okay. And it's like, well, when we let those foundations slip, that's when things come back. And it's like the fanciness isn't, I mean, I like labs too, but like, foundations are there for a reason.
And again, sometimes people need the labs because it's the investment. Well, I paid,
Then I'll do
$800 for this lab.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have the protocol from the lab. And the protocol literally says like,
balance your blood sugar,
eat a satiating breakfast in the morning, like, or like, eat more plant varieties to improve your like gut microbiome. Like, it's just like, come on, guys. Yeah. Like, I can write it in a protocol for you and call it a protocol. Mm-hmm. And like, maybe it's sexier that way because it sounds like something from your doctor, but yeah, totally. And it's amazing. Like, even on my podcast, no matter if we're talking about migraines, PCOS, like PMDD, like it doesn't matter what we're talking, thyroid issues, like it doesn't matter what we're talking about. We're always talking about the foundations.
Yeah.
It's the same, like circadian rhythm, getting enough sleep, blood sugar regulation. Are you over exercising? Are you eating enough? Like, it's just like, it's all the same. And people, it's hard. It's hard to do. We got to find the trick that like gets people to do the things. And maybe it's just like, they should teach this in school and then it would be ingrained a little bit better. And unfortunately that's not our reality, but also like it gives us something to talk about. So I don't know.
Oh, that could be a whole episode by itself, but you could literally make the same episode, like details, and just change the topic. Because
just change the title and what it supports.
Because like, yes, when people are like, you haven't done a topic on this. And I'm like, well, technically I have. Just change the title. Here you go. You know? And I'm like, if you got $1 every time we talk about blood sugar balance in every single episode, everyone would be rich. Like, I talk about it every single episode. And I'm like, okay, the top 3 tips for PCOS, the top 3 tips for PMDD, the top 3 tips for heavy periods. And I'm like, they're kind of the same. Yeah. I mean, once you get past the foundations, there's some things that change, because the deficiencies are different. But like the foundations, they don't change. They're called the foundations for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the triggers for most of what we're all experiencing. And unfortunately, like the modern lifestyle, the modern world, what we've learned, what's in the grocery stores, like it's just not supportive of the foundations. So it does take that knowledge and discipline to kind of be able to implement them. And I think for women, especially, like we suck at boundaries. No offense, ladies, but like I suck at boundaries too. And that means we're carrying the weight of a lot of things. A lot of us work, have families,